Blessings to all of you, and some of you were expecting to see Val-Ann this morning. She has got a chronic condition that she's having to deal with right now that flares up from time to time for her, and she asked that I pinch hit, or she asked to find somebody to pinch hit for her, so I am your pinch hitter. I sincerely thought about wearing a baseball cap and bringing my glove and a little bat and saying, "Where's the game? Where's the game?" But I did not do that. But on short notice, knowing we had to speak about strength, I decided to focus on the one book that we've read in the Tuesday book group that really, truly helped me grow in my understanding of the 12 powers of man. This book is called Divine Audacity. Let's see if I can get it on the screen there. Divine Audacity by Linda Martella Whitson. And what I appreciated about this book so much is that she took the 12 powers and broke them down and created 3 aspects of each of the powers. And in a way made the 12 powers more practical. And since this is the Church of Practical Christianity, I really appreciated that. So I'm going to talk about those 3 aspects of strength today. But first, let me read her definition of strength. Spiritual strength is our capacity to stand undaunted in the midst of shifting circumstances, to act courageously and stay the course. Undauntedly, staying in the face of something. I love that word. It's so interesting. To be fearless in something coming straight at you, to stand in front of it and to hold your course and to know that it's going to take some courage and persistence to be able to stay in there. So her 3 things aspects of strength she writes about in this book are stability, courage, and tenacity. And let me just read the first thing about stability, how she talks about it. To be stable is to be rooted in or anchored in a firm foundation. Stabilizing power of strength is our capacity to anchor ourselves in the truth of our unlimited source of calm, safety, and balance. She also says that stable, centered, calm, balanced, rooted, anchored, secure, safe, sturdy, yet flexible are marks of the stabilizing power of strength. So a strong foundation. All of us come to life with the foundation of our families. Sometimes that's stronger than others, and sometimes it isn't. But it is the beginning of where we come from. But when we're talking about our spiritual stability, our spiritual strength, that stable foundation comes from what that church believes. When I was thinking about this, I had this picture in my mind where strength was just this physical thing. And I realized that if that was the case, all the gyms would be full on Sunday. Everybody would be out there lifting weights, making their bodies stronger and stronger. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about spiritual strength. To be able to stand in that place of undauntedness. To be stable, this is what she says, to be stable is to be rooted and anchored in the firm foundation. The stabilizing power of strength is our capacity to anchor ourselves in the truth and unlimited source of calm, safety, and balance. So for every church, its guiding principles are the main foundation of that church. For this church, in Unity and Unity all over the place, our foundation are the tenets, the principles of this church that Joan read to us. Our firm belief that if God is present in everything, everywhere, and that divinity not is only in the world, but in ourselves and in everyone. That we create our lives what we choose to think, feel, and believe. We come in conscious contact with the divine within us by meditating and through meditation and affirmative prayer. And we do the best we can by living the truth we know. And that we is us individually. Wherever you're at in this process of your own spiritual growth, that is the point from which you live. That is your foundation. I like this idea that she's broken this down, because sometimes I wonder where I'm not having the strength to do the things I need to do. But falling back on those tenets to know that I can just stop and take into account that the world is in the oneness that Michael talks about so often. The singularity of God, of love, the principles that hold the world together. That we don't have to be alone in the world, because that divinity is in everyone else. And we can always go back and pray and ask for more help. We can choose one way of doing things, and then the next day or in the next moment choose another way to do things. This great gift of grace that takes us right back to our foundation. Now the second aspect of this that she talks about it being courageous. I struggled with that, because the only thing I could think of was firemen and soldiers and policemen who run around and be brave and jump in front of cars and pull people out of buildings on fire and other things like that. So I had to look up the word courageous in the dictionary that I got as a graduation present from high school. I hope the definition isn't old as I am, but I think it works. So let me read you what courageous or courage is. The attitude of facing and dealing with anything recognized as dangerous, difficult, or painful, instead of withdrawing from it. That was the first definition. Qualities of being fearless and brave. That sounds like the fireman and the policeman. The power of spirit that courage is helps us to believe and do the things that are right. Doing the things that are right. Being courageous. Being willing to face the things in our lives that are difficult, that cause us pain, emotional and spiritual pain. It could even be physical pain for somebody suffering from a chronic kind of disease or something. But the courage to face that and not run away from it, but to embrace it. I thought about who are the most courageous people I know in my life. And I have to tell you, it's my wives, my first wife and my second wife. My first wife did something that I could not do. She knew that we were in trouble, and she was unequivocally unhappy. And she had the courage to dissolve the relationship. The same thing is true for my present wife. She had the same situation where she wasn't happy in her marriage. And she had done everything she could to resolve that unhappiness. But she had to have the courage to face that pain and go forward in her life in a new way. For that I'm deeply grateful, because it gave me a soft place to land and to know that I am in a loving place that I don't ever have to worry about that again. I deeply, deeply appreciate her loving presence in my life. But that's true courage. To face that pain, no matter what it is. The idea that this church is, if you think about this past year, so few of us have been able to be here. I believe this may be the largest group of people that's been in this church in a year. And I look out there and there's plenty of room in here when we have time to be back together. And I can't wait for that. But think about the courage it took for Linda and Jeff and Nancy and all these other people that said, we got to do something, and all of a sudden Zoom became a word we all understood as something on the computer. Let's Zoom. I guess so. I had no idea what that is, and I don't want to learn how to be the person in charge of that. But they believed in this church and these things, and that courage brought us to this point that we can serve this community in this way for as long as we have to, because our foundation in the love of God for every one of us is so strong that we can go forward in it. We have the courage to do these things. I was talking with some people before the service about how difficult that first talk was for me. The one where I had to stand in front of the camera and stare into it. You know, oh, I talked really, really fast, and it was over very quickly. Which was really good for me. I hope you could hear them laughing at me in here. But that's what courage and that foundation have to do with. Now, the last aspect of this is tenacity. And this is what she says about tenacity. Tenacity, also labeled as perseverance, persistence, and stamina, is a useful component of the power of strength. Tenacity provides us with a staying power. Drawing forth the tenacity during unsteady circumstances means not giving up prematurely and remaining committed to the standability and persistence, acting with confidence. Being tenacious, knowing that no matter what happens, I'm going to keep at this thing. That's a really, really a big word, tenacious, because there is a certain quality of fierceness in it, that we are ready to be here. We are ready to be a part of this life, no matter what our circumstances are. I love that first line. She says, she describes as to stand undaunted amidst the shifting circumstances of our lives. The shifting circumstances of our lives. We've been shifting every day for the last year. And yet, we're here every Sunday. I think I've missed one Sunday in the last year that I was either sick or not able to come. I can't remember the reason. But many of us have been here and been on Zoom, making sure we stay connected to our spiritual home, having the tenacity to do that. When I first started to teach, I worked with a lot of learning disabled kids, a lot of high school kids. They were 15, 16, 17, 18 years old and had a lifetime of difficulty in school. And I was actually the first high school special ed teacher in the little school I started in Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken. And at some time during the course of my time with almost every one of those children, they would be absolutely distraught for some reason. And they were ready to give up. And I told them that I was never going to give up on them. And I told them the story about a bulldog. And I said, "You guys know what a bulldog is?" "Yeah, we know. That little short dog with those jowls." I said, did you know that they were bred to fight bulls? These little bitty dogs, real close to the ground, were bred to fight bulls. They'd run around and nip at their heels until they tired the bull out and his head would start dropping. And then something very unusual would happen. A bulldog can open its mouth wider and slap onto the snout of a bull, and then they lock. They lock. At that point, the bull is either going to die or he has to shake that dog off him, and he cannot do it because the jaws are locked. And I would tell those children, I said, I am your bulldog. I am going to be here for you every day. I'm going to be tenacious in my defense of you. That's what we're talking about. Being willing to keep going in the face of all that pain that we experience, in the face of the difficulties that we have. That is strength. That's what she's talking about. I just love the idea that I can think of spiritual strength in those areas so that I can go back to the foundation when I get in trouble with my life. I can go back to the idea that I can still pray and know that it's going to take courage to face the truth of my life. And know that there are places to go for help, whether it's this church or a counselor or someplace, that there always is something there. God has not abandoned me as much as I want to believe it was. I used to tell people that God was like a yo-yo, close to me and far away, close to me and far away. And then I realized it wasn't God who was playing yo-yo. It was me. God was always there. And that beautiful poem of, you know, how the person is walking by the sea, and when they look back, there's only one set of footprints because God has been carrying them through their lives. Strength. The foundation that we have. The courage that it takes to keep going forward, and the tenacity to keep going in the face of all that difficulty. That's what I have to share with you today, and what Linda Martella Whitson helped me see in the 12 powers. And what's wonderful, she did that for all 12 of them. So please, I think there's books down in the library. This book in the library. Linda's shaking her head, yes. If not, come borrow mine. I want it back, but you can borrow it. But just the idea that each one of those powers has 3 aspects, at least 3 aspects, that can help you see the truth of how that power works in your own life. So let's take a little trip. Let's be quiet for a minute. Get yourselves comfortable. And close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. Take a big deep breath with me in and out. And in and out. Now imagine yourself in the middle of the ocean, absolutely flat and perfectly still. You can't see land, you can't see clouds, you can't see anything except blue sky and blue water. And you're on one of those paddle boards. And this water is perfectly stable, it's strong, it's holding you, it's supporting you. As you rock there in the waves, you notice that the waves are getting bigger and bigger. They're washing over you and you're bored. And you remember that God, the true foundation of your life, is always with you. And in that moment, something miraculous happens. the board grows. It grows to the point that it's terribly stable, and even in these big waves, it's holding you up and supporting you. And you thank God for this great gift. Then the wind starts to blow and the rain comes. And the board grows ever larger. And soon you're in a large boat, out of the wind, out of the rain. And you thank God for the foundation of your faith, for the gift of safety, the great calm that comes before you now, even in this great danger. And you hold your course. You stay focused on the truth of your being. You stay focused that you are the divine in this world. And as the wind calms and the rain passes, you find yourself close to shore on your paddleboard. And you gently and easily row into that place of safety on the shore. And as you pull your board out of the water and you look back at that mass of water blue and the sky blue, you realize that you are truly on the foundation of your life. God has brought you home. You rest in the hands of the divine, your own true self. And for this we give praise. For this we find the blessings of the truth of who we are. The only begotten of God. And we say amen, amen, amen. So you can start coming back if you would, please. Thank you all for being here today. We have a few things left to do, I believe. Thank you. So thank you all. But let's say the prayer of protection together, okay? The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.